Watching Kyle's unboxing videos again?
Yeah, he always finds the coolest... No way! A robot dog? Gotta ask where he got it.
Or use your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Just draw a circle around the dog on your screen, and it shows you where to buy it right in the app.
Whoa, I just learned a new trick. And that for once, I beat Kyle to the next big thing.
Circle it, find it with the new Galaxy S24 Ultra and circle the search with Google. Get yours now at Samsung.com. Internet connection required. Results may vary based on visuals.
Bare naked, bare naked, bare naked. ABCs. Welcome to the Bare Naked ABCs, and we are now halfway through another letter. That's right, BNL may not have written songs for X and Z, but we won't leave this podcast unfinished. We will discuss every Bare Naked Ladies song from 7 to Y.
How long did it take you to write that intro there,
man. About 30 seconds.
Settler and Waldorf over here.
So as you can tell, joining me to discuss this unfinished song are Aaron, Heidi. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
And we have a returning guest that we haven't heard from in a while. And you may have thought that we were finished with him, but we weren't. Welcome back to Noah Ginex.
Never finished with Noah.
Hello. Welcome back, Noah. So good to have you.
Hi.
It's
good to be here.
He is the designer of our wonderful drawing of our group that you can find on our t-shirts. But I'm sorry to say, Noah, that we have a new co-host, Betsy, since you made them.
We're gonna need to commission a new shirt.
Never a problem.
So I guess that this
I turned it into a keychain. Check that out.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So since we have a new co-host, I guess I guess it means that this that the drawing is fabulous and not quite as fabulous as it could be, but
we just have to crudely impose Betsy's face on top of Jeff's head.
I'm not going to say unfinished. I mean, you're our guest.
Were you expecting me to say unfinished?
No, I was waiting for Aaron to jump on that one. I was like,
I wasn't going to say that. I think it was wonderful. His work is unfinished in as much as we now have another drawing.
Set it up again. I'll say it. Set it up.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because we have a new host, I mean, I guess that means that the shirt is,
Peterborough and the Kawarthas. No, I was wrong. Sorry.
What is happening right now? I don't even know.
You know, I wrote this whole skit and now it's going to go nowhere. What do you guys think about my shirt tonight?
Oh, my Lanta.
Yeah.
You know what it means, though.
Appropriate.
It basically means my dad joke is loading. It's unfinished.
It's unfinished.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like this week's song. So if you've never heard this song before, here's a quick snippet. And so, Aaron, this is a Hearn, Page, and Robertson song. But
yes,
my question for you is, what album's it on?
Well, it got spoiled for me during the pre-show, but I always write down my guess. Good. So I'm able to, I was wrong. I knew I'll give you my logic, though. I'll walk you through my thought process. So we can hear both Ed and Steven singing. We know it's not any newer than like Bare Naked Ladies Are Men. I like how quirky the song is. The quirkiness for a moment made me think it could possibly be from like Maroon, but it's very slickly produced and polished. And from the engineering, I would say it's somewhere in the 2000s. So I was thinking Bare Naked Ladies Are Me or Are Men. I ended up going with Are Men. But it was revealed to me this is actually from... Wait. Now I'm trying to... It was from Everything to Everyone, which I always forget that album exists.
I was going to say...
I don't know why. There's some good stuff on it.
All the other things that you mentioned in there, like, all fit Everything to Everyone. Like, early 2000s, finely polished, very instrumental...
way over orchestrated.
Yeah, it's very Wall of Soundy. I like that.
Yes.
It's very Latter Day Beatles-esque. Very Beach Boys, actually. I think there's a lot of Beach Boys influence in here.
Extremely, yeah.
I hadn't put that in, but that totally makes sense.
Yeah. I had only been listening to the demo of it, and so to hear, because I like the full lyrics, but like the final album version, like it really sounds like that's probably Kevin's influence. Just like is so much, Beach Boys and Brian Wilson, like harmonies and stuff.
That's
and
what
the key change and everything.
That's what I was trying to figure out is like where Kevin came into this, because like listening to that demo, it's hard to tell because the piano doesn't sound anything like what comes out later on in the recorded version.
Right.
He completely changes it.
I'm guessing that the piano was probably Steve. I don't think Ed plays piano that much, but like since they're the only two on it, they probably just got together and recorded it, and it also doesn't have the like drawn out part that comes towards the end, which I'm guessing that Kevin just helped, orchestrate it a little bit with that, and because it also doesn't have Kevin is very weird in his like humor, and so it doesn't have any references to like vegetarian subs with bacon or like so like it I love Kevin so much.
Kevin, we know you listen, come on the show.
Yeah, come on the show, please.
Yeah, I like at first I was like, well, maybe this is a Hearn song that they brought in, but when I listened to the demo, I'm like, no, because I'm sorry, Steve. I'm gonna say this, but I feel horrible saying it. Please don't kill me. There were some notes that did not sound right with the piano playing, and I'm like, that cannot be Kevin in the background playing that, because those notes are very discordant with the chords that are going on right now.
Well, then maybe it was Ed, because like I think Steve does play. I don't know.
He does.
It's the jazz version.
It definitely sounds like an Ed set of lyrics, though. Like all the
puns and plays on words.
Exactly. Yeah.
Most definitely. I agree.
Let me play a little recording of the demo version of that right now. Aaron, I don't think you were able to hear that this week because I was trying not to give away the
You
album.
were being real cagey with this one.
I wanted to trick you.
You were like Nicolas Cage over here.
All right, here we go. Oh, now it's giving me a hard time on loading.
Oh, okay. I see your screen.
I'm glad you see my screen because I don't even have anything on my screen at this moment.
Now, I don't say this with any judgment because I have once probably maxed out my entire RAM allocation with just Chrome, but you seem to have a lot of tabs open.
Yes. These ones over here are all Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, cool.
These ones over here are all for tonight.
Wow. Nice.
Unfortunately, it's deciding to give me...
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
Oh, hold on. That's Roadrunner.
That's Roadrunner.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
This is off the lady. Familiar. This is off the Ladies Room CD that was made. So I have to skip Roadrunner.
Meep.
Okay. So it's still bouncy, but it's a little different, yeah.
I left a tip, but it was never a donation. I took a trip, but it was never a vacation. I took a seat, but I refused to take a number. And so defeated, I proceeded unencumbered. I say
That's the demo version. They also mix up like the order it goes in. They have a whole second.
There's like yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm not the host.
Yeah. So there's also at the end of the second verse, there's a finished second verse. At the end of this version.
Was never testimony. I turned and ran after ignoring my Miranda. I hid, she saw it and caught me under the veranda. I say
Yep.
Now the other thing
happens.
The other thing that I was noticing is that because there is a split with what's on the different channels and the different ears, because earlier I had only one of my ears in and I could hear the piano much more distinctly, and I realized that's because it's playing in the right ear, and a lot of other stuff is in the left ear. So when I didn't have that, I could filter out and hear those plinks that were not quite right in the demo version, and they bothered me a lot more. Playing with both earpieces in, it feels much better and barely noticeable, which is good.
This reminds me of, have you ever heard those early Beatles stereo masters that they made, where they were still kind of figuring out the whole stereo field thing, and they would just 100% pan left and right? So you'd have like John Lennon screaming in your left ear and Ringo banging on the drums in your right ear. It's just like total chaos.
Yes. Or
that's
like,
why everyone loves the Mono Masters. The Mono Masters are great.
I ruined my family's cassette of Sgt. Pepper that way, because I was listening to it and I, for some reason, I couldn't hear one of the channels, and so I thought that it was bad, and so I like taped over from the 45 and like totally messed, but like nobody cared because it was, I was like, sorry, and my dad is like, we have it on album, like why? It doesn't matter, it's just
the album's better anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, we like, you get the brilliant rhyme of, I'm sure it, like, Ed was just like, he needed to find a rhyme for either Miranda or veranda, and that's why that whole thing exists. Like, I'm guessing Miranda came first because he was like really hype on like including that technical, it's legal jargon, Steve, we got to use it, like, and then they had to find some rhyme for it.
And so that makes me wonder why they decided in the album version to take it out. Now, I will say, I like the fact they took it out, because when it ends, they didn't replace it with anything.
Right.
So what we end up having is an unfinished verse leading into the chorus, which I was like, okay, that's just like very poetic, and I like that.
It could also be that they, took the opportunity to, like, instead of having all three songs have, all three verses have like the full version, like, it's like, you don't want a 3-piece suit where your coat and vest and pants are all the same, pattern or whatever. Like, so they just, like, the first verse is full, the second verse is like, like truncated, and the third verse is full again. So, like, it's more of a dynamic song. It's more interesting that way.
Mm-hmm.
And also, veranda is a dumb rhyme.
Maybe that's what. Maybe Steve came up to him and said, "No, we got to get rid of that rhyme."
It's probably Kevin. Like, Kevin and Ed, just from when I was like, hanging out with them, and they all rag on each other a whole bunch. But like, Kevin and Ed were, like, certainly comedically at each other's throats a whole lot, because I think they're, they both have very biting senses of humor, and know that they love each other, and so they can go harder. I don't know,
which is funny because Kevin is such, like, he gives off this vibe of this calm, relaxed zen person.
I was, when I saw them on New Year's one year, I can't remember what it was, but like, they were touring with Mike Doty, and I had the opportunity to go backstage and like hang out with Dodie and his band. And I was talking to them, and I said, what's it like touring with the Bare Naked Ladies? And their keyboard player was like, well, they're all great. Kevin is interesting. Every day he comes out of their bus, sees what I'm wearing, and then goes back into their bus and changes to match whatever I'm wearing.
That's amazing.
And when you think about it, like, his cousin is Harlan Williams, who's like one of the weirdest dudes
funny,
in the
man.
world. So like, like, it's obvious that, just bizarre. That's why I love him so much, because he's just so weird, like I think he's my favorite ever since Andy left. He's been my favorite.
Yeah, he definitely brings that esoteric energy that I really like.
Yeah.
And
he's also like bridging. He is friends with, like, Steve is still friends with him. Like,
yes,
because he's the multi-instrumentalist. He's the the peacemaker. He's the one, at the side. He's bringing justice to the art world. I just love Kevin so much.
I love the fact that Kevin, out of the children in the family, Kevin is the gatekeeper in the family that is trying to keep the parents together. Guys, it's okay.
That tracks.
They have not played this much live.
Well, in listening to the demo, I was really not the demo. In listening to the bathroom sessions, I was really impressed that Ed got through the whole thing by himself, like doing all the parts. Like, it's a taxing song, and Ed's range, not range, but like wherewithal is like not as up there with Steve sometimes. And like,
well, and I was
really impressive.
Say that I think that his range is also a part of the problem there, in that like those ascending notes going into the chorus during the pre-chorus, his voice starts cracking, and then once he hits the fin in the chorus, you could tell he's hitting the note, but he is pushing it. He is like on that cusp of that high note that he can hit. And I think he's probably just like, he just probably feels uncomfortable with it. And he's like, yeah, we have too many other songs.
It feels really uncomfortable. Anybody else get Psycho vibes, Bernie Herman score out of the opening? Yeah, there's a little Psycho vibes going on.
But I love that, like, when it feels to me like an open field, like that, the Psycho part, and then like it's like the barn doors open, and like you can just see crickets. Like this entire like it's like the end of Roger Rabbit, where like the doors open and you see all of Toontown just like going back and forth, like everything is on, like it's just.
So I mentioned.
Go ahead.
Oh, I mentioned that this reminds me of the Beach Boys a lot. It also that bouncy piano that we hear really reminds me of a song that I think came out. So if this was on Everything to Everyone, that would be like 2003 thereabouts, like early 2000s.
2002, 2003. I'm checking. But
Harvey Danger actually had a really cool and super underrated album that kind of went under the radar in 2005 called, oh man, the song is As Wine, Women, and Song. And it really, that bouncy piano, it very kind of reminded me of this. It's very much like this kind of bouncy piano leading. It's really kind of the lead instrument that's really taking the center stage. Little by little, that was it.
And to kind of, I want to go back real quick to what you were saying, Noah.
Yeah.
Like this song also for Ed, like, yeah, as a one person song, if you don't get your breaths in at exactly the right moment, you're going to totally miss this song. And even then it is hard because the back and forth that is necessary is really difficult. And then of course you're supposed to have, like, at least with the recorded version, you have all this wonderful layering and staging that is going on with one on top of the other, and it's what makes the song really beautiful, I think, especially with that pre-chorus. If you don't have Steve there, you don't have enough people to really kind of pull that off and make it sound the way it kind of needs, unless you go like to something like acoustic.
That's right. And also,
I don't think this song would sound good acoustically.
I don't know. I haven't heard the acoustic version from the DVD in so long. Like, I can't remember if it sounds good or not. But it could also be that because of, it's just hard vocally to get through the whole thing, you know, like, I know, I remember when I heard a version of, it was some concert where they played box set, and like at the end of it, Ed is like, ugh, and Steve said, yeah, that one's a killer. And he said, yeah, it's mostly the hand, like it's a really hard song to play, you know, like, and they have so many songs that, like, the ones that are hard for them to play, they just don't play them.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they just, I know on one of the cruises, like they got a suggestion in one of the buckets and just did not remember having ever written that song, and they're trying to stumble through it. I think it's maybe it's either Maybe You're Right or I can't remember what it is, but like you can hear like Jim and Tyler from the back like struggling along and trying to like shout out changes and stuff, and they're just like all over the place, and they had to eventually like play the song again the next night to apologize to the audience because they're like, we just couldn't get this at all. So they like went to their, you know, to their rooms and just rehearsed it a bunch. Like they just forget songs sometimes.
Well, I mean,
you know?
They've got like 300 songs. Of course they're going to forget some.
Well, and this one is pretty complicated too. Like it's a weird song musically. It's very weird.
Oh, yes, it is. I'm really glad that you're here tonight, Heidi.
I was gonna say the same thing about you, Aaron.
Man, what
do you guys want to do a breakdown?
A B to a B flat to G sharp to. There's no. I give up. I'm going to turn in all of my music degrees right now.
Yeah, I this is unfinished. My analysis is unfinished for this song. What even is this song?
I am so sorry. I did my best.
Okay, I feel so much better hearing you say that, Heidi, because I was like, what is going on?
I'm kind of at a loss. I mean, even the refrain, you're going from a B to an A sharp, I think, to a C. And I get the kind of semi, and then I'm like, oh, maybe they're moving chromatically, but no, that doesn't make sense. And then is it no, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this has baffled me more than any other song that we've covered.
It's the one that has me completely stumped, basically. And I've seen a few different versions, and I'm like, none of this makes sense.
Yeah, agreed. Do you want to attempt to break it down?
Yeah, let's go for it. I have break it down. I have 2 minutes and 59 seconds, 31 beats per minute, depending. I have some that say F sharp. I have some that say B flat, which G flat. I have one that says E. I got nothing. I am thinking I don't even know what key.
I
do you
have a
this in?
theory. Okay, so first and foremost, this was recorded, the studio version at least. That's the only one I listened to, at exactly 130.5 beats per minute.
Oh, I had it 131.
I tried 131 and then it got out of sync, and I tried 130 and I was like, well, maybe they're not playing with a click track, but I tried 130.5 and it fit perfectly. So another example of them being quirky. At the time, I didn't think too much of it because that's the first thing that I do is to get the tempo. But after my attempted analysis of the song, I think they intentionally did that as, I think half of this song was written as like a joke or like to kind of just like infuriate people who analyze music. So yeah, I agree. When I looked online, the first sometimes I'll try, especially with a more difficult one, I'll look at like Chordify and some other websites and see what other people say. This was being sold to me as being in the key of F sharp major, which, let me tell you, as someone who plays the piano, is a key I'm not overly fond of. It's got all 5 accidental keys, plus you would play E sharp, which is actually F natural, but you can't call it F because it's in F sharp. So yeah, that's a pretty gross, second only to something like C flat, as far as infuriating to play on the piano. Well, that would be annoying enough, but then I'm seeing in the notation you've got F sharp and F natural. And I was like, well, that makes no sense. I mean, maybe there's like a borrowed chord or some kind of like a passing chord or something, but then I decided to just ignore all notation that I saw online and just kind of go by ear. And I am suggesting this key is mostly written around F minor, but that's not exactly right because there's no F sharp or G flat. And then when I'm looking at it's so weird.
Exactly. I'm like,
what does it look like he's playing in the bathroom sessions videos?
I'd have to take a look.
Can you get a good enough look at his hands?
Yeah, his hands look like it's
my best guess,
in the
Heidi,
G minor to C minor to F to B minor.
Yeah. My best guess is something like C Phrygian with like a borrowed F sharp or G flat. That's like
it's not
closest.
normal.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Honestly, that's the thing. Is after about 30 minutes, I was like, you know what? I just kind of bailed out. It's unfinished.
No, it would take I would have to really sit down with actual sheet music and start analyzing chord by chord and figuring out what's borrowed. Is it modal?
There's nothing. There's no pre-existing.
You should have a button to pop in Alan Fogel on this podcast to just tell you what all the chords are.
Well, I'm actually looking on Alan's website right now, and he doesn't even have this one broken down.
The chords. That's the thing. Like the chords I can identify, and there might be some disagreement as to whether they're sharp or flat based on what you're categorizing. Right. But the key, there's no one key or mode that I can think of that everything fits into. Even if you account for like a key change during the chorus or something like that. Like even then, there's no like one comfortable. So very, very interesting and very unique. So I did basically take a look at the structure to be able to at least like break it down a little bit. So you've got the intro, which is like vamping on C, and then verse 1, which is your A section. Then what I'm calling the pre-chorus, which is I'd say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of attention span, which is our B section. Verse 2, A, pre-chorus again, B. And then strangely, I'm calling this next section the bridge. I guess you might say it's like it's not quite the same as like the verses.
I would call it a bridge.
But it's so weird to have a bridge before the chorus. Because then we finally get to the chorus, which is our D section, which everything is on. And then verse 4, and then pre-chorus again, and then the chorus. So it's like an A, B, C, D, A, B, D. And then I literally wrote, what even is this song?
There's that weird part where it like goes double time. It's is worth up. It's like, a false ending almost.
It's very experimental. It's like it doesn't necessarily sound like, it doesn't sound too passe or like or common, but I think it's even more strange than it sounds if when you first start looking into it. When you actually try and analyze it, it's just a strange beast. It's like The Thing.
Yeah,
you know, you analyze the blood cells under the microscope. That's not human.
I don't know what the hell that is, but that ain't human.
So yeah, I'm glad. I'm so glad.
I like the fact that you got that bridge, and then you have. It's wonderful they put that bridge right in the middle of the song before your chorus, before you get to a chorus.
Yeah, very unusual. Not totally unheard of, but very weird.
Because the really cool thing is that, like, once you get to that chorus, after it finishes, they go into this solo arco cello strums. Everything is on. Everything is unfinished. And I guess at that point, like the first time you're listening, I remember thinking, "Oh, the song's over. We're leaving the song now."
Nope.
No, oh, we're back. Nope. Okay. I guess we're not finished.
Yeah, if it sounds like I dislike it, I definitely don't. I disliked analyzing it because I felt like I needed way more time to really properly give it a proper analysis. But, you know, wow. I have on occasion, especially when it's a song from like Silverball, accused some of the songs we've covered of being a little too samey. I cannot level that particular criticism against this song. I am now more convinced than ever. Well, I've heard BNL uses increments of like half a beat per minute in their tempos before, but I'm more convinced than ever after doing that analysis. This was definitely intentional, and they're just like, let's just be quirky and different. How much can we do with this a little outside the norm? It reminds me of the old adage, like you learn the rules so you can break them, and they break them to great effect here because it's a wonderful song. It doesn't sound off; it just sounds great. It sounds good and fun, and I like it a lot. But it was maddening to try and analyze.
I bet. So I of course have listened to this song so many incredible number of times, and like breaking it down this week and listening to it for just the musicality of it, because I was like, oh my gosh, there's this. Oh my gosh, there's this. So like in the pre-chorus, there's these low growling notes. And as I listen to it more, the only person that it sounds like is Tyler. So we have like put through a filter of some sort.
Where is it?
It's in the pre-chorus, especially that last pre-chorus, just before we head into those numerous choruses. Let me see if it will be nice to me and let me pull it up this time.
I can tell you who it is if I hear it.
Do you guys have me on the screen now?
Mm-hmm.
See if I can find the right spot. Can you hear just below on the very bottom of that, there's this growly, it's not really a low, which is why I say I almost feel like it's got to be Tyler, because Ed can hit low, and it's not low, but it's someone trying to hit the low
play it
notes.
again.
Yeah.
Play it again.
And I noticed now listening to it, it's only in the right ear. Either I've lost my hearing in my left ear.
Let me see if I can hear it on the track on my computer.
It might be better than during the share
as well. About when in the song, what's the timestamp for that, Tracy?
It's about around 2:05 is where that last pre-chorus happens.
It could be Kevin or Jim. I know that like
okay.
A lot of the ba 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 ba's is Jim.
That's definitely Jim. The la la, the baba la la.
Yeah, I heard it
there,
then.
Jim.
It was in. Yeah, okay. I heard it then.
But I've never heard Kevin go that low. But it sounds like a low for Kevin. It's definitely not low. It's not all the way down to baritone bass, but it sounds like someone trying to.
When I first heard the Canadian Snack Time trilogy on Snack Time, like
Snack Time, That's
leave lettuce. Like that's all Kevin. So
nice call. That's probably Kevin because that's about the right set of about the right
you can
range.
absolutely be right on that.
Yeah.
Or you could be completely wrong. I don't know.
that's right.
Maybe you're right. Maybe not.
I mean, and like, if you think about Tyler, he probably would be one to say, "I don't want to sing it. Make somebody else do it." You know, like
that's remarkably close to Tyler's sound.
Tyler, we know you listen. Come on the show and let us know.
I mean, I've only been listening to them talk for 25 years solid. Oh, like.
Oh my goodness. The other thing I like, you mentioned it actually a little bit, is the la-las and the oohs that are overlapping. Like we have Steve doing the outro of the repetition, but we have these la-la-las and these ohs in the background, these oohs going on in the background, just one on top of the other.
And you, like, in interviews, you heard them talking all the time about how that was their favorite thing to do, is like they have so many hours, like, you know, of hurry up and wait while they're recording these albums, and they just like come up with the stupidest like background vocals, you know, like and so this is them, like this is such an amazing meal for them to do this. Like this is almost an antidote to my ears for what I didn't like Maroon. Like it was, you know, like, but this, you know, it sounds like they're having so much fun and they're like just doing so much, just playing in the studio, like coming up with all the different things. Like they had a full you know, string section for Upside Down, and like all the different, they just really got to, it's like when they made Gordon and they were in the studio in Marin Heights or whatever it was, where they were just camped out in the studio and they just were making all this fully orchestrated stuff. Like it sounds like a return to that almost.
Yeah. Well, and this song also has not a full orchestra, but a full string section.
Sure.
So we got Matt Soons on the viola. We got Larry Corbett on the cello. We got Joel Druin and Charlie Bishart on the violin. And then it says Susie Katayama as the strings contractor or contractor. And I'm like, did they mistype that and meant conductor?
No, they probably
like a session player.
Found somebody to organize, to bring them in. Yeah, he went to one of his string buddies and said, "Hey, do you have like a quartet that we can use?" And I remember them talking about like the quartet work on this, where like the musicians came in and they looked at the charts and they're like, "Oh, hey, who wrote this? This is pretty good. You know, like this is actual like music," because Jim wrote out all the, you know, all the string parts, but instead of like Maybe You Should Drive, where it's, you know, him playing a violin like a bass, because there was only him, you know, like to do it. They had the chance to do like a full, you know, orchestration thing.
Yeah, and it sounds great. One of the things that I wrote down, you know, I've been having conversations over the last couple of weeks with other people. They'll bring me these bands, and I'll be like, "Yeah, that's kind of cool," but it sounds hollow. It sounds empty. It's not full enough. And as I'm thinking of that, it's beginning to understand why, because I like the late Beatles. I like early Beatles too. You know, it sounds kind of unfinished and empty, but it's definitely, I like the early Beatles, but the late Beatles and B&L for the same reason. I like them because that you rarely hear that hollow sound. And if you do, it's intentional. And like it's just so completely full.
Yeah.
In that documentary, Tyler talked about how when he plays with regular like electric bass players, like he misses that, you know, that fat bottom end of Jim, you know, with the double bass. And I think that extends out to their whole sound. Like they are so good at hearing what should fully be around the song, that they just naturally gravitate toward filling it out. Like all of their demos sound like they could be released by anybody. Like they sound pretty fully produced.
Yeah.
Because they just have so much experience doing this,
Yeah, I think they really have that kind of sound engineer mindset in mind when they compose, which is really helpful for making that kind of Welsh sound spectre kind of aesthetic we were talking about.
Like if you look on the credits for Rock Spectac, like Jim and Tyler are both credited as being like Michael Philip Voivoda's like assistant engineers or something, editors or something or other, because
Wow.
they're really good at mixing, like they know what sounds best for their sound.
Well, that's really cool though, because they must have really spent some time during Gordon sitting down and watching him do his work to
probably
do that.
It was such a summer camp for them that they just like, and they're 22 when they're doing that album, 21, 22. So they're probably all going like, oh, what does that button do? Because like I was in a band when I was that age, and I remember like, peeking over the engineer's, shoulder. And I remember saying to him like, I have it. Do you want me to sketch out where all the different voices go, like on a panoramic? And he just said, no. And he went back to do it because like he was a fully competent engineer who we were paying. So I should have left it up to him anyway. But like, when you are at the age that these guys were during all of these albums, like you pay attention to that stuff because you just want to learn and you want to be as good as you can be, because you're paying like, thousands of dollars an hour or whatever to, to be in the studio for this amount of time.
Yeah. Well, and it would occur to me, and I'm not an artist and so I don't know, but it would occur to me that like the engineer is another member of the band in many ways, in that what they're doing changes the sound to what they want it to kind of sound like and what they think sounds good. But that pulls it ever further away from what the artist hears in their head.
Right.
And I think in terms of like listening to the Beatles and especially the later discussions the Beatles had, like Paul was always telling George, no, play it like this. And George was like, no, but it sounds better like this. And then, you would have the engineer that would come in, and George Martin would be like, okay, well, we're going to do this, 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 and this, and make the sound completely different. And Paul would be like, yeah, that's great.
And like, especially watching that Get Back movie, you can totally see how everything, like every second leading up to the final versions of those songs, sounded like just a shitty garage band, like, and if it wasn't for George Martin, nobody would care about the Beatles, because like he orchestrated their sound so much, and he just, and it's only because he was 5 years older than they were, and they looked up to him, and they thought of him as like, the adult in the room, that they listened to him. And
thank goodness
thank goodness. Yeah. And like when you think about the people that he had to rein in before the Beatles were Peter Sellers and Spike Milligan. So like, of course he was good at, like, no, come on guys, like gets back on track, like.
So you're saying he might be able to rein us in?
Might be the only one. Yeah.
No hope.
No.
Once again, with that full orchestration though, there's something going on in the background that I want to point out that's really important. And that's Kevin is adding in these boings, bops, and bloops in the background that I have never picked up on before, just kind of listening to it is, and of course, the thing that came to my mind was Spaceballs, of course, the bleeps, the creeps, and the sweeps.
Where is this?
Whatever it is that Kevin's doing, he is just like randomly hitting these buttons on his, I'm sure it's not random to him, but it sounds random that he's hitting these like whoop, bing, bong, boom.
That's Kevin.
Just in the background, but it adds to the song.
Maybe they actually had Michael Winslow in the booth. Michael Winslow, we know you listen. Please come on the show. Speaking of the bleeps.
So the next time that you guys listen to that song, I challenge you to listen to as many of the boops and sweeps that you can hear in the song as possible, because Kevin is filling him in. As soon as the other instruments come in, Kevin is just having a field day in the background.
Nice.
Well, if you've ever heard, it's some version of "Never Is Enough." Like when they were recording "Little Green Bag" with Tom Jones, he had Tom Jones sing like "All right," like into just some microphone, and Kevin just plays it every now and again, like
That's
just
awesome.
throughout a bunch of other songs, like. He just had him record, like 6 or 7 things into his keyboard.
It's like their version of the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He loves just peppering weird stuff into,
I love that. That's great.
There's a version of, and it started really early. There, I know on the Born on a Pirate Ship tour, like you hear like that part where if 100 monkeys each could have their own show, perhaps one day a chimp might say, and you just hear and you have faith and you just need to use it, saith the Lord. Yeah. I messed it up, like on the live version, like he puts in Samuel Jackson from Pulp Fiction, like in that section, like I'll have to send it to you.
Of course he does. Yeah. We should probably talk about what this song's about.
Sure, I don't know
on the meaning of this song and the words that are used. I mean, to me, my way of discussing this song, my way of understanding this song is I think of this song as the ADHD anthem.
Yeah, I definitely relate to the song quite a lot.
Makes sense.
Well,
do we know what it was, about within the band?
No, they've never come out and released anything specifically.
It's funny because when I heard the title before I heard the song, I was wondering if it was actually like an unfinished song, if it was going to be something like "How's the Level" or something, where they just threw this thing on there. And it sort of is, because they sort of just kind of cut it off abruptly. I love that.
I love that.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. I mean, it fits the theme of the song. It's like programmatic.
In the demo, they don't do that. They do everything.
I like
unfinished.
That better when they cut it up. That fits so perfect.
And they almost like at the end, they almost like, when you're doing a home recording and you can sometimes hear the space bar or whatever, on the microphone. Yeah. Like there's a bunch of those click, clack, clack, like at the end of the song.
The other thing I noted was, as Heidi pointed out, the song is exactly or just under 3 minutes, which is the kind of the cliche ideal pop song length. So I'm wondering if they did that as well. If maybe they could have gone on longer, but they're like, no, we got to cut it off, make it more abrupt. We may as well do it right at the 3 minute mark. The whole thing seems to be like a giant in joke for like music people, which is great.
Yeah, I agree. Excuse me.
When I'm writing a song, it's funny when I heard Unfinished, I was like, oh man, I relate so much, not just because of the whole, squirrel ADHD thing, but like I think I've said this on the show before. I never really feel like it's finished. I just sort of like keep going until the point. It's like I don't have this profound feeling of, oh, it's finished. It's more like, well, I could work on this for another hour or another day or another week or another month, but I'm not sure how much better I can make it during that time. So it's more like you recognize that you've hit a point of diminishing returns and you say, okay, it's good enough. Let's lay it down. Let's get it recorded. Let's mix it. Let's do it. And you look at bands performing songs that they wrote like years or even decades ago, and often there will be subtle changes, right? Maybe they add or change a vocal harmony, or they play the guitar solo differently, assuming it's not improvised, or they add another instrument. So, maybe they change the melody subtly. Everything is unfinished. We're all works in progress, working on works in progress. So I like that.
Yeah. Like if you listen to Down Under, Colin Hay plays it way differently now than he did when that, when it came out. And then there's the Al Yankovic when he did, I forget what album it was on, but like he did an Avril Lavigne parody. He couldn't figure out what the song was about. Like he had 3 different verses because he couldn't get past any of those. And so he just made it a complicated song, and like is like, well, just fine, it's done. Like it's just 3 different vignettes, I guess, and the only thing that ties them together is like the conceit that it's a complicated, that happens all the time because of the schedule and because he had to get the album out,
Yeah. But I think it's interesting, like, so Ed takes it, and with the pre-chorus, or I'm gonna guess it's Ed because he likes to play with these phrases a little bit. But so does, all 3 of them really do.
You can give it to Ed. I think it's an Ed song.
But that pre-chorus, I'd say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of attention span.
I love that.
So the original
brilliant line.
For the people that don't know, that's playing on an old adage of, I'd say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure,
right? Which
basically means do it ahead of time so you don't have to spend all your time afterwards and energy afterwards trying to take care of the problem that you've created.
It's the medical version of measure twice, cut once.
Yeah. But then he changes it with this. And by changing that line, basically what I wrote down that this means is it's better to be intentionally uncommitted than to get distracted and not be able to finish it.
Interesting.
And that's what the rest of the song is about. I left a tip, but it wasn't a donation.
They're very non-committal, definitely.
I took a trip, but it was never a vacation. I'm not going to commit because I know that I'm not going to be able to finish what I start.
Don't label
so I'm going to
me,
intentionally not finish.
If you define me, you negate
there's some wisdom in that, though. Like it's like committing to be a consultant on a project as opposed to like being fully, contracted to work on it or whatever. Like I don't have the time to give this my all, so I'll come in and consult, and that frees you up to not be there for the whole thing. It's smart, especially for somebody with ADHD, if that's what the song is about.
I definitely have a problem with over committing, and I don't like to say no to people, and then I have a huge schedule that just sprawls, and it's like I can't finish all this stuff. So yeah, I totally get that.
Yep. I like to say that I have ADHD, which just means that my attention deficit is in high definition.
I like that.
It's in 4K.
I'm going to put that on a t-shirt.
You can see the little marks in Judge Doom's face.
Put it on a t-shirt. I
absolutely love the line. I made a pact that I would finish what I started. I admit the fact that I was distracted and outsmarted.
Yeah.
I said I was going to finish this stuff. I should have known better. Like, that was my mistake. Totally.
Yeah, what a fool I was.
Yeah. It's what doesn't Steve have? What is that amazing song from his first solo album? Indecision.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's like that's sort of his. I won't say it's an answer to this song because like this song was, it wasn't, but it was in the same vein. In the same vein.
Yeah. Well, so there's that line that was removed, and it gives a different feel to the song once you do that.
which in like thinking about it again, I find it strange that in the demo version that has the extra line, like he says, I told my side, but it was never testimony. I turned and ran after ignoring. Whereas in the final version, he says, I took the stand, which
Did I just
which
lose?
does rhyme with it's I wonder if like I don't know. I wonder again, I know I tried to explain why they took it out before, but I myself am wondering, what the decision was there.
Right. I think by taking it out, that second verse is I took her hand, but it was not in matrimony. I told my side, but it was never testimony. I turned and ran after ignoring my Miranda. I hid, she saw it, and caught me under the veranda. So it almost has a relationship type feel until once you remove those two lines and change that to I took the stand.
Yeah. It brings it back to being completely on him, and it's not about a relationship. Yeah.
And maybe that's what they were trying to do. They're like, yeah, we didn't quite go there with the relationship. We didn't really say what we were trying to say. Let's
not make this a love song, either requited or
right.
Yeah.
Like, because that also changes that line of I played along, but it was not for recreation. I left my home, but it was not evacuation. If you have a relationship tinge, now you have this person who is leaving this person and not committed to the relationship.
It's another way,
or you got kicked out and now all your stuff is out on the lawn.
It's another way that this song kind of bucks the trends and is just kind of different, and I like that. Yeah, it's very...
Well, the next door neighbor soaks you with the hose.
By the way, it's interesting what you said about not liking Maroon and liking this, because I think that the difference is that Maroon after Stunt was them trying to be really serious with their art. I personally love it. I think it's
I love it too, but
I think Ed loves it too. Like I think it was, for me, it was like they're really big now, so they got Don Was, who wasn't like a bare naked guy, he and also there's just a lot of songs through the second half of the album that just seem like they're rhyming for the sake of rhyming to just try and get through, like Baby Seat and a couple of, I love some of the songs on that album. I love, like Conventioneers is like a killer song. Off the Hook, like so many of them towards the end of the song, just, and maybe it was the age I heard it at first. Like I found the band during Stunt and like listened to everything before that, which was very fun and dark, with Maybe You Should Drive and like the Rock Spectac had. I remember the moment my brain exploded about Bare Naked Ladies was listening to $1 Million on Rock Spectac, and Grade 9 like was injected into the beginning of the song, and I was like, whoa, they're singing one of their own songs inside another one of their songs, so that, and then Stunt, which you're always going to love the first album you find of a band. And then I was waiting for the next big album that they were going to have. Like they had Get in Line on King of the Hill, but like the next big album after Stunt was Maroon. And I was like, they're all dressing the same, and like, Steve is trying to be serious with taking off his glasses, and like they're, I want the geeks in the shorts, it just seemed like they were trying to be so slick. And
I think, I agree with you, Noah, on that. I think that seeing them pre-Maroon and then pre-Stunt, post-Stunt, and into Maroon, their packaging, you can tell like there was a whole like packaging that they went through, and it's nicer now to see them just the way they want to be. I think that they're back to the way they want to be, which is great.
And I think if they had been really excited about all dressing the same, they would have done it for more than just that one tour, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like,
oh heck yeah.
It was totally a package. It was them selling themselves at that point.
Or somebody selling them, you know, like let's all wear, you know, butter colored shirts and striped pants. You know, like that's like, okay, I get like, all right. So you're running out the mouth of a giant inflatable devil. Like, you know, make the songs better.
It goes back to the discussion that Heidi and I were having last week about the ad libs, is that while they were dressing like that, they actually made comments about they did a ad lib during that tour, actually during this tour, about boy bands and how they're a boy band, but they're not a boy band in a lot of ways, and how they break the tropes of boy bands while they're dressed like boy bands because they've been told they have to.
It's the trouble with Tracy.
Trouble with Tracy. Is there a trouble with Tracy on this song?
There is no trouble with Tracy on this song. Like, if they had kept it similar to the demo, then I probably would have some troubles with it. I absolutely love this song, and I love this version of this song. So no, there's no trouble with Tracy.
Whoa, that's amazing. Aaron gets me.
That's why I wanted to come back for this song. Like,
great song.
This and
oh my gosh, no,
Upside
I also
Down
made stickers.
like,
Check that out. Look at that.
Look at that.
I made a sticker.
I love that video. It's like the Ballad of Gordon video so much. Like,
oh yeah,
anything with Andy, like where like I just, the five of them, and then Kevin too. But like the moment in the Junos, you know, in a Hall of Fame induction, where like they're switching from 1 week to $1 million, and Andy runs out on stage and like gets on the piano, and there's just one tiny shot of like Steve leaning on the piano, like gazing longingly at Andy. I'm like,
yes.
I was sitting on the corner outside my friend's birthday party watching this on my phone because I was like, I have to go. You'll understand later. And like I was sitting, and I almost melted into the sewer. I was like, this brother. It was so.
It was so like, there was that concert that Andy conducted and orchestrated for Steve with the orchestra, and I was just like, oh, I really wish I could have been there, because that one little 5-second moment during that concert, like, to me spoke so much. And I was like, oh, the relationship between the two of them, like,
and especially like, fast forward to the end of that song where they're like, all the balloons are coming down and all those strange like Canadian people come out, like, and they get to the end of $1 million, and Steve is like, when I had $1 million, and it's just like, Steve, come on.
Well, we should probably get to rating this song. Let's see, what should we give it for a rating? You know, they got rid of this lyric, but we should put it in there. How many verandas?
Yeah.
This song. Yeah. I think that's what we got to go with.
Fair.
Why don't we start with you, Heidi? How many verandas do you give this song?
Are we giving it Mirandas or verandas?
Because again, I think kind of like the description earlier, I think that Noah gave about, you know, that like it's very me. It's very like ADHD, a little bit of everything. Like, oh, look, a chicken. So I can't quite get it done. I also think I love the lines of this and the lyrics. I sing this it's kind of another Muppet song. You know how Heidi has her Muppet songs in her head, and when I'm a Muppet, this is kind of in my head a lot of the times. So it's a Heidi Muppet song for me. Oh my Lanta. Because it is. And I love the line, like we talked about earlier. I played along, but it was not for recreation. I left my home, but it was not even extra. I made a pact that I would finish what I start. Ed. And I just love that whole thing. So I am going to give this. Oh, that was really loud, Heidi. You can back down. I'm going to give this 4.8. 4.8.
4.8. All right.
For verandas.
How many verandas do you give this, Aaron?
Well, Noah asked a very pertinent question because he asked, are we doing verandas or Mirandas? And being a Trekkie, I have to award this song 4.35 Miranda class starships out of 5.
Oh,
I see what you did there, you dork.
Yeah.
Is it the veranda that's on the?
There could be a veranda on the
start?
holodeck on a Miranda.
Okay, there we go. Yeah,
with a Sanda.
Drinking Fanta.
Oh my Lanta.
Fanta.
With Waxana?
After he had my Lanta.
Marina?
Guys, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say me encanta.
Oh.
Nicely done.
If I knew what you just said, I'd be offended, but I don't
This
get
new
offended.
Dr. Pepper soda tastes kind of like a Fanta.
Zero sugar Dr. Pepper.
But yeah, it's certainly on the best of playlist. It's well deserving of a spot in the well into the 4s. I really like it. We talked about how unique it is and how it bucks tradition. And maybe I'm a little salty at it for leading me down the path to madness while I was analyzing it. So I put an asterisk next to it. Maybe I'll raise it up to a 4.5 verandas at our New Year's special. But it's well into the 4s. I love it. Great song.
Well, Aaron, you know who also bucks tradition is the character from Kung Fu Panda.
You had to get one more in. I appreciate it.
I had to get one more
respect
in.
the hustle.
Basically, I got to give a hand to you.
Oh, my Lanta.
Oh, well, for that, Noah, you can go next.
I'm going to write you a memorandum next time about what we should
Read your Miranda.
Oh, my Lanta.
And we are from Lambda, and Omega Mu. Nobody's gonna pick up on that. Come on.
Lambda.
It's Revenge of the Nerds.
I will give this
Do you
song
believe in Santa, Aaron?
3 verandas and 1.5 Mirandas.
Oh, wow.
Wait.
Making me do math.
That's 4.5.
Math.
So
Do some math, which you didn't
No,
plan
are we
on
going-
doing.
are we going like for the album or for the whole
just the song?
Yeah, just the one song.
Sure. No, but like out of
all of
songs
their
on the album
library,
or out of all the
the
songs,
entire library.
out of all their library. I mean, I love this song. I'll go 4. 2 Mirandas and 2 verandas.
Okay.
2 of column A, 2
There you
of
go.
column B.
Yeah.
And I really like this song. I really do. I was jostling kind of moving around and like, do I like it up to a 5? Oh, it's hard for me to throw it into that 5. I already got a lot of 5s. I gotta stop giving so many 5s. So I'm gonna give it a 4.83.
Very respectable.
I think that is a very respectable number. And I do want to bring up some really important things that came up during this week in history, though.
Oh.
Both on the same date, and I think is really coincidental, almost ironic, and how this happened. So on July 11th, 1987, Steve and Ed separately attended a Peter Gabriel concert and ran into each other at the Harvey's restaurant afterwards and discussed their shared musical taste.
Wow.
Ed likes cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Now, that was before they were with Anda, right?
That Anda Cregan?
That Anda Cregan, yeah.
It was.
Just want to make sure.
But this was their first interaction, the first major interaction that the two ever had.
Wait, did it plant an idea in the head about creating a band?
Now you're pandering to the masses.
Oh, and Noah's absolutely regretting coming on tonight.
No, I'm just thinking like I got a kid to put to bed.
All right, we have one more. On July 11th, 2008 was the date that Steven got arrested in Fayetteville, New York.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it. Shush.
So July 11th is an amazing day, but also a not so great day in BNL history. And
this Pollywog does not like that date.
No. So we're not going to celebrate this date so much. But I did want to point out that those two really weird beginning and endings happened on this date. And at that time.
Now, if Steven had never been arrested, do you think that they would have broken up? I don't think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
You think they would have broken up?
Oh yeah, they would have, because like I can.
Ooh, we're getting some juicy news here.
Well, when
we're having puppet wars with Noah.
When we met them at the Borders the week before we shot our video, we noticed that on one side of the storeroom was the four guys, and on the other side was Steve and what is her name? I can't remember. His now wife.
Oh.
Who, at the time, Christine, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yoko.
Wow, Tracy.
Well,
Yoko.
Let's not.
Wow.
That was harsh, Tom.
Let's not get into propaganda here.
So wrong.
Both Yoko and Christine
are not the cause of the
unfairly maligned.
Yeah, absolutely
unfairly maligned.
That's the connection I was making. I wasn't saying that she broke up the band. I was saying the exact opposite.
And I think they wrote a whole song about how Yoko didn't break up the
Yeah,
band.
Blame it on Yoki.
That's right.
Yes.
Tracy has been
yes.
She's been upside down for the last 2 minutes, dying, waiting for one of us to mention it. I'm sure.
I'm losing blood at this point.
There we go. Oh my God, guess you're upside down. I just got it because I'm an idiot. We're going to the upside down.
Oh no.
Do.
I was gonna make a Stranger Things reference.
I'm gonna be Eddie.
I'm gonna be Eddie. Have you finished watching the series?
Well, let's all dress like Stranger Things next week. Well, I'm all ready for it.
We all have to do this next week.
Yeah, something no one will
we're
see.
gonna have to. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, for an audio podcast, we're all. It's like they can't tell that the Bare Naked Ladies were naked when they recorded certain songs, but they were. So that's in solidarity, we'll all be upside down on our webcams next week, even though you won't ever see it.
There's you'll know that we did it. Somebody asked them what song they recorded naked on some album, and they're like, listen, I bet you can figure it out. And they had cut that song from the album.
That's great.
Sign me up.
Has anybody heard that song? Yeah.
Yes. It's horrible. Thank goodness they cut it from the album.
Tell us how you really feel.
If you go to, I'm about to send them down the rabbit hole. Plug your ears, Heidi. If you go to the BNL archive, BNLarchive.com.
Oh, Noah, don't do it.
You can find everything on there.
No, I lived there for
oh my God,
for a couple of years.
I didn't know it existed until last week, and I was like, oh my God, I was at that show, and oh my God, I was at that show.
You didn't know it existed? Oh man. like that. I love.
Yeah, I may have burned most of the hours that Heidi had last week.
Oh my God.
I'm just so happy that it still is
it
up
was-
because I tried to find it when I was looking for that random improv from Chicago, and I couldn't remember because the website has changed several times, and I just couldn't remember what it was.
So good night, everybody.
Yes. Noah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Noah. It's so good to see you again.
Great. I love this show.
Hey, Noah, it's such a pleasure to have you here. Thanks. Please come back on again. Yeah. Well, we certainly hope
Come back
you'll be
again
back
soon.
next week.
We're
Yeah.
so happy.
Oh, man.
And you inspired me to get my own puppet. Yay. This is Phoebe.
Oh, wow. We got 2 Gonzos.
I got her for Christmas.
Gonzo patches. I got just.
I suggest, Tracy, you can cut this out, but let's do a thing. We'll make we're wrapping up, and then you can cut it off. So this episode is unfinished.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.